All right, special guest is Howard from Maxspect. Today, it's fragging tools, and like every other one of these episodes we've done, you might think that they're just a bunch of tools on here, but like we've taken it just a couple steps further than you would think in almost every case, like just trying to do it a little bit better, avoiding the me too.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
We'll start. We got a carbon fiber tweezer, a coral pruner, a glue gun, normal glue, coral gripper, coral putty, even some frag plugs. Again, all of these things, like kind of mundane like products that you think that like everybody's done before. Yep. But what if you did them better than everyone else? Let's find out. Okay, so the very first one we'll talk about is this guy right here.
Yeah.
This is the carbon fiber tweezer. You know, you're picking out corals, you're gluing things, you're handling it.
Yeah.
All right. What makes it different?
Well, before we have this product, I'm a hobbyist myself too. I do a lot of maintenance on my own tank, right? Before this, the tools I have is just typical stainless steel tweezers that you would find buying from freshwater hobby, equipments, right? I just thought to myself, why there isn't a marine specific tools for our hobby, right? Back then, so I just decided to make my own. And this is the one of the many products that we end up coming up with.
So does it float?
Well, it does not float, but it actually hovers. It's naturally buoyant in salt water, not freshwater, salt water. So it will actually hover around in your tank when you let go of it. Let's say, for example, you're doing maintenance, you're doing your aquascaping, right? If you use a stainless steel tweezer, what happens when you let go of it? You're gonna sink to the bottom.
Yep.
If you use a cheap, kitchen plastic one, you're gonna float to the top, right? Ours, on the other hand, we just wanted to stay put around where you're working, so you can pick it back up after done with the aquascaping.
Does it harm coral tissue?
It does not. Like again, with the stainless steel tweezers, it's so hard and rigid on the tip, right? I try picking up acans or scullies, it just crumbles the brittle skeleton structure of those corals, right? But we have this silicone tip right here, so you can handle delicate corals without hurting them.
As soon as you grab it and then you realize, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And especially if you used a bigger metal one. Because a lot of times what you're actually doing is when you pick up a coral that's not really, doesn't want to be picked up that way.
Yes.
That tissue, like if you've seen a dead one of these corals, the coral skeleton is very sharp.
Right.
So if I take this and I smush the delicate tissue onto its skeletal structure, you're actually kind of crush it.
You just crush it.
Yeah. So being able to be really delicate and having a delicate tool works really well. I think the number one thing though, from a user perspective, is does it rust?
Of course, it does not rust. It's carbon fiber. There's no metal in it, so it won't rust.
All right, so we got a tweezer that protects the tissue.
Yeah.
It doesn't drop like a rock to the bottom, and it doesn't rust. Even if you didn't rinse it, it won't rust.
Yeah, you don't have to rinse it.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, the next thing is the coral pruner. This might look like a garden shears, but it is different than just that.
Yes.
So there you go.
Okay, so we have been looking for just the perfect tools to trim thicker branches of corals, like staghorn corals or any kind of thick,
even
corals.
like Euphyllia heads.
Yeah. Or maybe just cutting off that frag plug, that base,
Sinularia.
Yeah. Before we have this coral pruner, the only thing we could do is just actually get a garden shear, and the problem is they rust in just a matter of days, right? So we want to do something better. So we have actually using hardened chromium coating on the blade. The nut and bolt is actually made of 304 stainless steel, and the spring is actually 316L, which is one of the most resistant to corrosion. So you can use this, pruner or shear in your Reef aquarium without having to worry that it's going to rust.
So do you know offhand what these things cost?
It's only $15. I mean,
yeah. So you could probably pick up a gardening shears at like your hardware store for $10, or you could get one for $5 more that doesn't rust.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I look at it and it's kind of like buying a good knife. You buy a crappy knife, you know,
Yeah.
the blade like stops right away.
Mhm.
You can tell that this blade actually extends through the handle.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's strong.
We're getting some feedback that some plastic handle is going to brittle and break, you know, after a couple of months. So this one, actually, the metal handle extend all the way to the handlebar, so it's not going to break.
Yeah, there you go. Coral shears allows you to break off your stags, cut your sinularia, cut your philia heads, whatever you
Yeah.
want to do. I will say, just because it's the best steel out there, you still should rinse it. When you're done, like even the best ones, salt is an amazingly corrosive thing. So you should still just rinse it, but what you don't have to do now is do it methodically, like you would if you had just a normal garden shears. All right, so coral glue gun.
Right.
All right, I bet you a lot of people have seen this thing, but have not really considered it, and it may or may not be right for you, but for some people it is. This is a cool thing.
Right.
It's kind of like a caulk gun.
Yeah, it's like a caulk gun, but again, we have replaced all the components inside to be, you know, anti-corrosion, so you can use it directly inside an aquarium. And one thing with the typical, you know, glue gel is that when you use the bottle inside your tank, you have to be really careful, because otherwise, when you release it, it's gonna suck in all sort of salt water into your bottle, but not with the glue gun, because the pressure coming from inside the tube.
Okay, that's why I very rarely, only like if I'm doing like aquascaping outside of the water do I use those big bottles, because exactly that. If you're squeezing that bottle and the negative pressure let it go, it just sucks up water, it's done. Right.
And also when you're using regular glue bottle, after you finish with it, you put a cap on, but there's a bunch of air inside. And that's gonna cause the glue to cure inside the bottle.
Well, this kind of pushes it out, so there's never any air in there.
Right, there's no air, there's no water inside, so you can pretty much use the entirety of the tube before it, you know, it will cure.
So one thing that we'll say, you said this is for some people, but it isn't for others.
Yeah.
This is not for the guy that's going to do 5 frags today.
Of course.
Like this is overkill to that, and you know, there's tips on this thing that'll eventually clog as well. Like this is designed for, hey, I'm gonna have a fragging session today, and I don't want to like wear out my hand, open 8 million little tubes or whatever.
Oh, and people having fatigue on the thumbs too after squeezing on the bottle over and over again.
Yeah, it's like, I know what you mean. I end up pushing like on other parts of my joint sometimes. So, and you know what this is like like a local fish store tool. This is a aquaculture tool, and then like a home use where, you know what, it's fragging day, I'm gonna do 300 of these things, clip off a bunch of stuff, let it grow up, sell it to my store or whatever. Cool solution for that.
On top of that, you know, you can also use it for aquascaping. Some people just don't know, you don't have to use it just for frag, right? Let's say I want to redo the aquascape, and you can actually reach out to, you know, how to reach places, and then just apply some glue so that your rock won't be moving. You know, you can do aquascape, and you can use a lot of that. Okay, so like this aquascape behind us, we use those big tube things. Yeah. I have a suspicion that those are cheaper, but in any case, it's, you know, you gotta squeeze it, and like I can't really use it upside down unless I squeeze all of the air out of it. And so I think next time I do one of those aquascapes, I'm gonna give this a shot. And it comes in like a bigger this is a refill. It's a longer refill tube, so you can, you know,
you know, like this is a significant amount of glue.
Yes.
I'd be curious with that tip, can I get it into areas that I otherwise wouldn't, or be able to use it vertically because I don't have to keep squeezing the air out of it. So interesting tool for that aspect as well. For everyone else, this is their solution, which will look very familiar to you, which is, it's just a little container that has your normal, like extra thick, you know, glue to it, you know, in a little tube. Okay. It's not exactly what you think it is, but it's a little different. So, like, you've seen these things at, you know, your hardware store, you know, whatever. What makes it different?
Well, first of all, we're using high purity, you know, material when we use it. You know, when you get the glue gel from your hardware store, the number one thing they want to make sure is the cost. They don't really care about the material used inside. So if you're using less than 100% pure material, who knows, there may be heavy metal in the material they use, right? Or maybe in the machinery. So, but when we pick our material, we double check with our suppliers, making sure the material that we use inside is 100% pure. So we don't want to leak any heavy metal into our tank.
So this is like a double-edged sword for me because I've used glue from just about every possible source there is, and I've like never killed anything to my knowledge using it.
Right.
But I can tell you for sure there are different qualities of it because I've used lesser grade stuff that I got from the hardware store, and if you're paying attention inside of your little vat that you're doing this in, you'll see this like slick or like sometimes this like crusty film that shows up at the top. And with the higher grade glues, those things don't materialize that way. Is that slick or like?
We have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I would tell you it doesn't seem like it's rat poison. Like everything's just gonna kick the bucket. But I don't know what the level of irritant. And just out of curiosity, I did the math on this today, and these tubes look like the same size, but they hold like 2 to 4 times as much as you would find from your typical store. So it's like full. Like a lot of times when you get a stick like this, from your hardware store, first thing you do is squeeze out all of the air. Yeah. And they're like 0.017 like ounces. Yeah. So there's more actual glue in each one of these things, which means I don't have to crack as many of them. It's not as much waste and everything. But I did the math on it, and dude, it was like really not that much different in price. Like I think that it was about $1 a tube for the like hardware store stuff, and this was like $1.20. For the same amount of glue inside, not tube for tube. Right. So like 20 cents. Skip the slick and all that stuff. Sure, why not? Yeah. Also comes in a little cool container. I have enough of them. I have some for next time. Yeah. So, all right. The next end here is the coral gripper. All right, look at that. You get one, I can have one. Okay. There you go. Okay, so a lot of you have seen these things. They come in a bunch of different formats. The very first thing that I will say is this thing is half the cost. Yes, of course. It's much less expensive than many of the competitive coral grippers. But what else makes it different?
Well, first of all, again, we use anti-corrosion material. The component insides are made of 316L, stainless steel, one of the best, resistant against corrosion. So you can use this gripper in your saltwater aquarium for as long as you want, and it won't seize up. Some of the poor quality ones, you can use it for like a week, and then it will just seize up because the rust inside, get all the component jammed.
Well, and you can't even see it.
You can't see it,
but so it just goes bad without you knowing.
Right. So I mean, people don't see the things that we did inside the gripper, but we actually used one of the best material when we make this.
So one of the things I will tell you is if you use a lot of the competitive type products out there, like they can pick stuff up, but they don't really transfer the gripping energy very well. Meaning like it doesn't really like grip onto it very hard. Right. One thing that I'll notice about this is like it provided that whatever it is you're going to grab fits inside this space, right? This thing transfers energy like really well. Like meaning I can get gripping strength out of this thing, that's pretty tight. That is what makes this thing unique. And even if it frankly cost as much as twice as much like all the other ones, I think I'd still prefer this. Just even on this thing alone.
Yeah, you can feel the strength. Yeah. Well, we picked up 3 pounds of live rock with just one of this gripper. Live rock is easy to pick up because of all the irregular shape, right? But it actually picks up heavy stuff. Especially when you're picking stuff up in the aquarium. Natural buoyancy of the water helps you pick it up too.
So for me, like I just prefer to not put my hand in there as much as humanly possible for a whole variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So tools like this are awesome. So for me, I didn't notice it until I did it today, but the gripping strength or the transfer of energy from my hand to the tip is why I would use
Yeah,
it.
and it's coated with silicone, so
yes.
you can pick up delicate coral without hurting them, just like the tweezer. Yeah, there's extras that we did just to make sure you won't damage your coral.
All right. The next one here is an interesting one. And so I'm going to ask you guys for some feedback on this one, but we'll explore it. This is coral putty. So Maxspect's coral putty. And so some of the people out there who watch a lot of BRStv will probably recognize it and think that it's exactly like something else, but it's not. So this is your like typical not typical, but this is your epoxy, right? But it is not like a typical epoxy. It's like silicone based, right? Instead of the stuff that you get from the hardware store, or those 2 tubes, and like you mush it together, and it's like all over your hands.
Slime, the residue in the hand.
And then if you have to do it with wet hands, it doesn't work at all.
It doesn't work.
It just crumbles, and then you put it in the tank, and it clouds the water, and the skimmer's going
overflows.
Nuts. Like again, in this case, like I've never seen the coral like kick the bucket over any of that, but it just doesn't seem like it's
and
good.
The smell.
Oh, smell.
It stays with your hand. It won't. You can't get rid of that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a good option. So this stuff is different though because I'll just say it. It looks a lot like Troon's coral gum, right? Almost looks identical. I even opened one up the other day. It looks identical. But it's different in the essence that it has a longer cure time.
Yes.
So you mix this stuff together, and that stuff will cure in like almost a minute.
Yes.
It's really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
Where this cured when we were working with it today, what was it, like 8 minutes or so?
Yeah.
To get hard, it will harden within 5.
Yeah. But 5 minutes. It also depends on the working temperature, and when we work on this product, we're getting feedback saying, within a minute, you don't have enough time to work with the putty before it cures, right? For example, if you're doing aquascaping, you want to have some time to work with the aquascape. You want to take a look if you like it where it is before it cures, right? With a certain, instant curing one, you just don't have the time to work with it. So we have this one timed around 3 to 8 minutes, depending on your temperature, room temperature, So I think it will, help some people. In different applications.
It's funny because the Troon's coral gum, like I really like how fast it cures.
Yeah.
I do it one at a time.
Yeah.
Every single frag that goes in, and then when the worldwide team was installing a bunch of frags here one time, they actually I showed them, I gave them that stuff, and I really liked it, and they're like, this stuff cures way too fast. Give me something different. They're like, this is terrible. I would never use this.
Yeah.
It's so funny because everybody has their own favorites, but they're used to doing so many that you can't. They want to mix up a bunch of this stuff at once and then use it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially when you're doing like thousands of frag, in a batch, right? If it cures in a minute, you won't have enough time to get the frag on the plug before it cures. So. But if you guys want to see a faster curing version, we could definitely make one. So yeah, leave a comment below and let us know.
So this is of this these are what this is, by the way, is it's like a colored dental epoxy.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wouldn't use this color
of course.
at a dentist's office, but it's like a colored dental epoxy, like a silicone, and so it's kind of like medical grade stuff. And why it doesn't cloud the water, send the skimmer going nuts, and. If you do, let us know, because the team over at Maxspect is obviously listening to what you guys want. And so if you want to see both, like a fast-acting coral putty, because this is significantly less expensive than some of the competitor products out there. So I would like to see it.
Sure. Yeah.
I would use it for sure.
Like I said many times, we are hobbyists too. We want to make something that it's not going to break your bank when you use it. This is our goal, to make something affordable but good in quality.
So one of the reasons that I like using this silicone-based epoxy instead is because I like to take my coral and it molds around it, right?
Yes.
And then I'll push it into a place. I'm I don't want to have it like sitting straight up and down. I want to have it coming out the side and
like in an angle, yeah,
an
like
angle.
that, yeah, looks
And then
naturally.
If I use that normal epoxy, first thing that happens is you stick it in there, and now I got to hold it like for 10 minutes, otherwise, or prop it up or something. But if you wiggle it even just like a little bit, then it's like starts to deteriorate.
Yeah.
It's just like really hard to work with. And then you end up using lots of it too. And so you see tons of this epoxy around everywhere. So when I use this type of epoxy, you can see that it's already starting to harden now.
Right.
When I use this type of epoxy, what we do is called like a hybrid approach. Because this stuff doesn't actually adhere.
Yeah.
It's not glue.
Yeah, it's not glue.
It molds around surfaces, into surfaces.
Right.
And so what we'll do is we'll take a little ball like this. We'll put super glue on one side, and super glue on the other. Push the coral frag into the super glue on this side, which now adheres to it. And then we push the epoxy into like a hole or around a structure where it physically locks on because it's filling in space. And then there's also the adhering property of the super glue.
Right. I mean, people like told me they do that with the plug as well. I mean, when you're doing frag plugs, how can you make sure the frag is not going to fall over when you try to glue it? If you use super glue, they don't have the structure. It's not going to hold the frag in place. But if you use the putty along with the glue, then you can do that. You just put it in. The putty is going to make sure the plug, the frag stay put, and the glue is going to stick it in place.
Yeah, so these are really cool solutions. Again, use the comments. Let us know if you'd like to see the fast acting stuff as well, because it actually could save some money.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest complaints of the competitive stuff out there is I love it, but man, it's significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Also in there is we talked about these in a previous episode.
I just took one out.
Oh, you did? Well, I'll take one out too. You can have one. We can both have one. These are frag plugs made out of the Nano-Tech like ceramic media. So this is ceramic media, super duper hard. We always like worried we're gonna break something, but super hard. It's different than your normal ceramic medias. It has like, if you look real close, like little tiny beads of ceramic media. Allows water to flow in and out of it.
Porous structure.
But tell us what happens when you use it.
Well, basically in our labs, we see a significant, improved growth rate of frags of different species, right? We felt that, it's something that we should tell the hobby and people that are actually doing a lot of frags, and if this can actually help them grow coral frags faster, I think this is a game changer.
Okay, so as I said in the previous episode, we talked about this. Like this one, like I saw the video or I saw the thing on the website, and I'm like, man, I don't know, really. But you go look at your website and you can see the side-by-side frags, and like those ones are definitely growing faster. And what I do know for sure is that some organisms in the tank calcify on some surfaces way faster than others.
Yes.
Now you can see it with coralline algae.
Yeah.
Coralline algae grows on some things, doesn't grow on others. It will eventually grow on those other things, but it some things it grows on a lot faster. Live rock, for instance.
Live rocks, yes.
It'll grow on live rock really fast.
Right?
Porous rock.
Yeah.
Dry rock takes longer.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is ripe for us. I'm going to use some of these next time we do some frags. I'm going to use some of the other ones. We'll put them in the window and we'll just watch them the same way you guys did, because I want to see. But these are all the, like we haven't changed the world of fragging with all of these tools, but we've made it like a little bit better.
Yeah, like I said, we want to create some tools specifically for our hobby instead of always, borrowing tools from freshwater. We just want to have something that we can say belongs to us.
I'm going to tell you that, like, I've had a lot of conversations with you now about a bunch of different things, and there is a stark difference when you talk to somebody that actually uses these tools, and it's the only way like, this isn't working, this is working, this is the problem we're trying to solve.
Right.
Versus like the Me Too products out there, I just want to have another epoxy, I just want to have another coral gripper, I want to sell another frag plug. Like, how do we make those things better? And I consistently see that coming out of Maxspect. So bravo, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you in the next one.